Hey everyone, this is Peter from Flashpoint 726, and it's Sunday morning, beautiful morning. Um, a little chill in the air here in Ohio, and come here today to share some of the dreams I've had this past week. So, um, so yeah, first, oh, I guess I can't switch the camera here. I've got a little campfire in front of me. My son and I last night we kind of started a little bonfire, and I've kind of restoked the ashes, the coals from last night, and so I've got that burning right in front of me. So yeah, I guess a little bit of I don't know if call it context for the dream of, but just kind of where I believe we're headed as I don't know what to say, like the end times, that type of thing. I believe we are in the end times, and I think a lot of my dreams are related to that. I don't want to make go so bold as saying that my dreams are literal or even representative of what's going to happen, but in some way symbolic. Um, and I hope as we keep going through these dreams that someone who's got some insight. I've had one commenter um, provide some good comments uh, in terms of what my dream may have meant, the giant. Um, anyways, so I guess I'll just jump right into this. So I've had, I don't know, probably documented at least 7 or 8 dreams in this past week. I've had one each and every single night. I guess I'll start in order of precedence in terms of the things that I think are interesting or relevant that may bring out some insight. And I think where I'll start is the one that I had last night. Um, I'm going to call this. Uh, see if I get this right here. Um, Ojaikwona. That's what I'll call this dream, and it was something that I saw in written on a sign within this dream. But to give you some background, um, the whole dream centered around me going to a class for elder care um, in this. I won't call it a remote town, but it was like a resort town in the high desert somewhere. Let's call it Sedona. That's about the closest I could um, describe this town, Sedona, Arizona. But I lived probably about 30 to 50 miles away, and so I'd have to. And for some reason, I have access to a car, so I'd ride my bike in each day. Um, so the tone of the dream was like this was kind of a burden. This class went on for several weeks, so I was waking up each day, riding my bike out there, and it was a real struggle. But I felt like it was something I had to do. Um, so at the end, and I think the thing that I was looking forward to is meeting someone or being able to take care of someone who needed me. But I needed to go through these classes in order to do that for some reason. So, um, so one evening, towards the middle of the program, I was riding home, and actually, I was heading out of class with a sense of urgency because the local authorities had posted some kind of storm warning for some approaching storm that was coming up on the town. The storm clouds were gathering in the west, for sure, and I just once class ended, I didn't dilly dally. I just hit the road. It was so dire that they were recommending people go underground, that type of thing. And I didn't live in the town, so I didn't have anywhere to go. So I decided I would try to go and beat the storm. So that's what I did. But a few miles outside of town, I quickly realized I wasn't going to make it. So um, as I got off my bike and started looking for some shelter, the best I could do at the point where I felt like there was no return, that I couldn't go back to town. I was out here. I needed to immediately seek shelter. A friend of mine, or acquaintance I knew very well that was doing the same thing I was, um, said he was going to press on home. I was like, "You're crazy," but that's what he did. But I felt like I was in a state of panic. Like if I didn't do something right now, um, there wasn't any hope for me, and I didn't know if was going to be able to find something. So it was kind of a panicky type situation. So he went on, and I just felt dread for him. Um, but I evidently found like a place, like a little cleft in a rock, large rock, where I could hunker down and just let the winds blow. I mean, this was just to describe the storm. It was kicking up a lot of sand and dust and debris. The winds felt like they were predicted to be over 100 miles an hour. Definitely like a very stiff tornado type of wind, um, but not swirling, just kind of a straight sheer wind. Um, and the clouds just were full of lightning, and it just kind of felt like an unprecedented storm. Anyways, the storm came and it went, and the remaining time that I had at this class, I just kind of felt sad and almost lost my motivation to complete it. But I kept thinking that at the end of this program there was this reward. Um, so I pressed through. So I don't think my friend or the acquaintance made it through that storm. So um, so I made it through the past 2 weeks, and at the end we were all taken out to this wilderness resort called Ojaikwona. I thought it was an interesting name, and it was something that in the dream I kind of noted to. I remembered enough to kind of write it down when I woke up, so I did. And I also kind of did some etymology on the words to kind of figure out what those words may have meant. I thought maybe they were just nonsensical or just kind of an interesting combination of letters. But I did break it down to two. The first part being Ojai, which is actually something I am familiar with. There's a resort in California called Ojai. So I looked up the word for that, what that meant. That meant moon. And then Kawana is an African tribe language in Zimbabwe, which means wrong or wrongful. So somehow the resort meant wrongful moon, but that name in of itself didn't fit the way this resort appeared to me. Like it was a place where you'd want to go and get away. It was, very clean, very beautiful. They had pools, trails, um, just a place that you'd want to spend a few weeks just to refresh and get away. Anyways, um, this was a place that, I was like, yes, I finally made it. I did the class. And at the end, I think what kind of my purpose was to take care of someone that needed me, and I had to go through these classes to do that. So I did it, and in the end, I was rewarded by going to this resort. So I want to say that maybe this was paradise or heaven, but the name makes me think twice about that. So um, if anyone has any insights or comments on that, I'd greatly appreciate that. So that was the most recent dream. I guess the next one I want to broach is one kind of about some kind of warfare. Um, I was dreaming like I was in an op center, um, some newly built op center that was prosecuting, what would you know, kind of like counterterrorism operations with airplanes, and it was like a command center with air support, uh, ground support, that type of thing. So um, there was a whole bunch of monitors, a whole bunch of parallel operations going on, and so yeah, we were having a good day, and I was. It appeared in this dream that I was enlisted or an officer um, in this security force. I guess is the closest. It wasn't the Air Force. It wasn't like the military that you would think of, but it was some kind of you know government sponsored thing that they were going after bad guys, for lack of a better term. So I was relatively new, and and things were being set up, and the targets were they were hitting their targets, and then I was asked to take the control stick on I don't know an aircraft or some kind of remotely controlled thing, and I kind of had hesitations about that, and I was kind of like being pressured into, hey, go ahead, you can do this, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this because I truly believed we were going after bad people, but any individual, I didn't want to like have blood on my hands over the whole thing. So, um, so it kind of ended there, but then the second part of the dream was we were all being bused to and from these barracks. I guess we were in a geographically separated area, and um, yeah, just taking a pause here. The wind is just so beautiful right now. Just listen, rustle through the leaves. But anyways, but we would be bused to and from, um, for lack of a better term, like housing, like barracks, where they would keep all of us operators. And it was all in kind of a geographically isolated area out in some kind of barren land. So the second part of the dream was that I was being picked up for my daily shift, and as we were driving out to the op center, in the background there was like this lava coming out of the ground like a volcano, and lightning, a dark cloud surrounding this mountainous volcano, and lightning was coming out of the clouds. And I was on the bus with my fellow um, compatriots, I don't, fellow soldiers, whatever you want to call them, and we just got kind of like into an argument, and it just felt like it was like something I didn't want to be a part of anymore, and people were calling me out on it, and um, so the dream kind of ended there. So yeah, just kind of put things into context. I'm just wondering if this is kind of like a tribulation type of thing where there is good versus evil, and there's a battle going on. Um, and what is good versus evil is kind of muddied. So it was kind of an interesting dream, and I don't know. There's so I just leave it to you all to if you have any insights on that. So the third dream, so I tell you, I get one every night, and stitching all this together is not the easiest thing. But the third dream I had was I was living in Germany, and it was a place that I really enjoyed living. Um, if you talk to me today, I won't say it's the last place I'd want to move, but it's not a place I'm very interested in going to. Probably more for political reasons than anything else. But in my dream, it was a place it was almost kind of like a fantasy. Just the perfect life I was living there, and I was a foreigner in the dream. And so one day, um, I woke up, and the government had issued an edict that all foreigners must leave the country by a certain time, and that kind of took me back. I'm like all my friends were there. I had really uh, built really close relationships to folks there, and it wasn't something I really wanted to do. And but more than just that, I didn't in the dream I didn't feel like I had the means to leave. So I was kind of put into a pickle. And then at first, my neighbors showed a lot of sympathy. They didn't understand why the government was doing this. Um, they were upset. They showed, a lot of empathy for the situation I was in. So, I was surrounded by a lot of, um, I got a lot of support from the community around me. But then as time went on, that kind of like slowly, day after day, um, started to diminish. So the sympathy started to trickle off. Um, it seemed like over time people were buying into what the government was telling them. And so I started to become alienated from everyone. And it was just, it just was one individual after another. Just started to, you know, not return my greetings, avoid eye contact, um, and, all the way down to my core set of friends that, I thought were my friends, to the point where they didn't even want to look at me. And it kind of felt very isolating, and um, I kind of felt alone and afraid of what was going to happen. And it even got to the point where I could no longer buy or sell anything. Um, so my situation was pretty dire, and all I could do, I remember going to a bakery, and they had all these delicious breads. It was a place where I frequented, and the guy that worked the cashier, within maybe a week or two, um, he would secretly sell me some bread. But then later on, if I went in, looking to say, hey, I need to buy some bread, he'd just give me a look and just shake his head. No, can't do that. And it would be all nonverbal. Um, so, and it was weird because I just watched them preparing all the food. The food looked so delicious, like food that, um, yeah, food that's more delicious than I see here in real life here. Um, and I was just wanting, a taste of that. And um, yeah, the dream kind of ended there. Let's see, I want to see if there's any other notes I had. Yeah, so that was kind of the end of the dream. So it just kind of made me think about if this is what the tribulation looks like. It's going to come slow. Um, it's not something that's going to happen overnight or going to be noticed overnight unless you're really watching. It's going to be something that slowly creeps in, and the people that um, don't align themselves with the powers that be will be the ones that get um, persecuted. So that was that. Um, okay. So I guess a couple other things is in my dreams. One common theme, well, there's a lot, but is the different houses I have in my dreams. Um, and then one night I had a couple of dreams about the different houses that exist in that, I guess if you call it alternate reality. Um, one is a Victorian house. It's like 3 stories high. And so one night my dream started out there, and I just remembered, just kind of ordinary life. Um, I had my kids there, and I was just looking around the house on what needed to be done, what needed to be fixed up, and um, I was really focused on the floors. I was getting quotes for them, and everyone was coming in really high, so I just got upset and said, "Hey, I'm gonna just do it myself," and I did. It was a lot of work and everything. Um, so I was, just kind of fixing up the house and everything, and then during part of, that dream, um, two sets of family friends came to visit. And one set of friends were relatively new, and actually were friends of friends. That, if that makes any sense. But they were coming over, and the one family that we had known for a while, I really loved them, really enjoyed hanging out with them. But the other family seemed to be kind of more judgmental, um, and always kind of looking at us like, um, from a point of view of judgment, like we were doing things wrong, we weren't raising our kids right, um, not putting the right boundaries in place. And so that family wasn't really someone I wanted around the house. So I remember one scene where we were just just trying, pleasantries and everything, getting to know them. The kids went off, and we have a barn, so they went off to the barn to go play, and then they found something in there like candy, and they wanted to know. They came back and asked if they could eat the candy in the barn. And for some reason, this was like a boundary with this family, and this guy was like showering me with judgment and saying he'd never let his kids do something like that. And so I was a little offended by his attitude. So almost in retaliation, I told my kid, "Yeah, go ahead, do it." And the guy just kind of, I don't want to say he lost it, but it just kind of killed conversation. Um, so, anyways, later on, it seemed like we all decided to go out on some kind of family vacation somewhere at this resort, and we were all staying at the same hotel. And I had a big lobby, and there's a big water park. When we got there, the water park was just jam packed. And so I said, "No, we won't. We'll wait to go there. I don't really like crowds or when it's crowded, just because it's hard to enjoy everything that a water park or an attraction has to offer. If it's all crowded, you spend more of your time waiting in lines and actually enjoying the facility itself." So eventually the crowds died down and filtered out, and so I kind of went out and hung out at the pool or water park, and then it cleared out to the point where there was no one there except this dad who I had issues with previously, and his kid. And he was showing his son, he took him into the spa, and he was showing his kid a lot of love and attention, and it just, um, I don't know, I just kind of had this, not epiphany, but this kind of realization that maybe I shouldn't judge people so harshly, even when they seem aloof or distant or judgmental. That a lot of times they're coming from good intentions within their heart, and the way they convey that is just gets misunderstood, or they just don't know how to properly convey that. So so that was just kind of a side dream, and then I had another dream of a house that I have in Ohio, and this was probably the most optimistic dream. It almost seemed like heaven. I dreamed I was outside, and one of our best friends here came to come over visit with her friends, and it was just really good to see her. It was like we hadn't seen her in a while, and her kids went back and played. And then I have a coworker, or a former coworker that I had when I worked in New Mexico. She came over with her two kids, and then before I knew it, um, our our yard was full of kids just running around, just full of joy and energy, and it was like something I hadn't ever witnessed before. And so it just kind of seemed like a heavenly scene. I just remember at one point, a few of the boys wanted to play football. And I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, go ahead and go do that." And then the next thing I knew, they had like chalked up lines in the backyard. They had like yard line markers, like the 10, 20, 30, 40 written into the yard. The lines were perfectly straight, and I was just kind of amazed how they just cranked that out in a few moments of time. Um, but everything just like the whole atmosphere just felt like it was full of light, and um, there weren't any worries, and so it just felt kind of like a heavenly scene there. So I think I've said a lot. This went pretty long. I hope you hung in there with me. Um, so yeah, if there's any feedback you have for how I can do these videos better, I do this kind of really unrehearsed. I'm hoping to improve my um, my communication by doing these videos. It kind of holds me accountable to better think on my feet, to recall details, and hopefully, eventually, I'm really hoping that I can start translating my dreams into stories, um, and things that are meaningful, and kind of allegories for things that are actually going on in this world. Because, like I said in my intro video, I don't think any of these dreams are an accident. That these dreams contain a lot of information within them, and I'm fairly new at trying to process them and remember them when I wake up. Um, so it's gonna feel pretty awkward at first and stilted, and I know my voice can be pretty monotone and not the best of speakers or anything like that, but I hope to work on that and improve it. And I just hope that a few of you can get on and encourage me and give me some pointers on how to do this better. Um, but yeah, I hope to really eventually start forming some good friendships through this. Um, I go through channels and just find some amazing people sometimes that just speak to me, and I hope I can do the same for some other folks out there. So I love you all. Don't know who you are yet, um, but in the spirit of Jesus, and being a son, being a child of His, um, through His sacrifice, I hope I can connect to more of my eternal brothers and sisters, and the time that we spend here and invest here can carry on into the new life that I hope is coming soon. So God bless you all, and you have a pleasant Sunday.